Hi everyone, welcome back to Plus One Media. Finally, the month of January has come to an end. I feel like I aged 20 years in that month with all the headlines that were happening. I couldn't keep up, honestly. I have them written all in front of me. But this episode, I'm gonna dedicate it for the trade war that's happening between the US, Canada, Mexico, and China. In my next episode, the upcoming one, I have a very special guest coming in. I'm gonna do a podcast with him. We're gonna have a very good discussion. I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited also for you guys to know who's my next guest. But on the third episode, I'm gonna talk about all these headlines that I have in front of me. I'm gonna state a few so you guys understand what we're gonna talk about so you can stay tuned. I'm gonna talk about all the executive orders that Donald Trump signed after his inauguration. I'm going to talk about all the secretary picks that he chose. They are very unorthodox, but they're not politicians. They are professionals. You have Pete Hegseth, you have Kristi Noem, Mark Rubio, Bessent, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, Kash Patel. So we have a lot of new names coming in. Also, we're going to talk about the Colombia situation when Donald Trump tried to send illegal immigrants by plane to Colombia. Colombia didn't accept it. Donald Trump pushed more on tariffs. Then the Colombian president said yes. We're going to talk about Trump asking Jordan and Egypt to take more Palestinian refugees to clean out Gaza. Of course, Egypt and Jordan did not like that. But Donald Trump said that they will have to take it. We do a lot for them. I wrote an article with Poilievre that we're going to share this week saying what kind of, we were talking about what kind of leverage does the United States have or has on Egypt and Jordan to ask them this big ask. I'm going to talk about also Lebanon and the United States. We have a Lebanese caucus in Congress that seems to be active right now. They have sent a letter for the White House asking them to make sure to pressure actually the Lebanese government to make sure that none of Hezbollah or Harakat Amal get the finance ministry. We're going to talk about the AI war, Nvidia, DeepSeek, Alibaba, the pause on all federal loans that Donald Trump has signed. Then we're going to talk about the Washington crash, the Philly crash, and also all the tariffs on BRICS. But for this episode, I'm going to focus on the trade war that's happening, and it just happened today actually. Today we are February 1st. So what happened is that when Donald Trump came back to office, he wanted to make sure that all countries around the world respect the United States the same way United States was respected before, because he believes that, or he claims that, Joe Biden lost the respect of other countries. And to do that, he wanted to implement tariffs on everybody. Now, why he wants to implement tariffs, I explained it to you in my last podcast, and I have a video on Instagram that explains to you what kind of card Donald Trump and the US has. They have something called consumerism card. They have the highest HFCE, which is $21 trillion. HFCE is the day-to-day expenses or spending that regular consumers like me and you spend. Phones, Netflix, car, food, all that. $21 trillion a year. The second highest number is $9 trillion, which is the entire European Union. So just imagine how big of a purchasing power the US has against other countries, which means other countries and other companies want to sell to the United States. The best customer, the most lucrative customer is the United States. So when Donald Trump says I'm going to implement 25% tariffs on everybody, this makes all the other companies do whatever Donald Trump's want so that he doesn't implement tariffs on us. Now, everybody watching this video, I believe they understand that tariffs are paid by us, the consumers. When I go now to the supermarket, or when I go to buy something, or furniture for my apartment, it's going to be more expensive now. If I'm an American citizen who's buying a table that's made from Canadian lumber, well, now it's going to be more expensive because lumber is being taxed 25%. But what does this mean? I don't want you to stop here. I don't want you to say that, oh, we're the one paying more prices, so we are the one that are effed. I want you to think a little bit further. So if, let's say, this table that we were talking about costs $100, now it's going to cost us $125. They're going to put more costs on you, you're going to pay around $130. So you're paying $130, you're going to say, you know what, I'm not going to pay $130 for that table. I'm going to go find another table that's locally made. What does that mean? It means that the business in the United States will not be able to sell this table anymore as much as before, which means they won't be ordering from the business in Canada sending those lumber. They won't be ordering as much as before. So what happens is that the company in Canada will lose a lot of sales. The company in Canada will not be able to sustain its business. And when you're not able to sustain your business, you're going to have to cut costs. And if you're going to have to cut costs, the first thing they do is they cut jobs. So a lot of people are going to lose their jobs in Canada that are related to import-export products. And this is not me saying it. This is all the analysts in Canada from BMO, from RBC, from Concordia, from the best universities. This is what they're saying. They're not able to pinpoint an exact number of how many people will lose their jobs, but they're saying a minimum of 100,000 to 200,000 people will lose their jobs. And also, we have the governor of Bank of Canada, Tiff McCullen. He said that these tariffs will hit the Canadian economy. Now let me explain to you a little bit deeper what's going to happen. What are the consequences? What is the future of the Canadian economy? So these tariffs will be implemented on February 4th, not just from the US side, but also from the Canadian side. So Justin Trudeau actually came out today and said that, you know what, we're not going to comply to whatever you're saying. What we want to do is to implement another 25% tariff on US consumers. Products. As products coming into the United States, they are valued at 150 to 155 billion dollars, which is it's a huge. I wanted to touch point on something else also. Donald Trump wanted to tariff Canada and Mexico because he's claiming that Canada and Mexico have opened their borders to let fentanyl coming into the United States, to let people, illegal immigrants, to come to the United States. But Justin Trudeau today said something very interesting. He said that less than 1% of all illegal immigrants and fentanyl are coming from the Canadian border. Not more than 1%. And I believe him, which is interesting. And this made me ask, like, why are you trying to open a trade war with Canada if it's less than 1%? So we're gonna keep an eye on this one. So let me explain to you what's gonna happen in Canada. Businesses in Canada will not be able to sell as much as before, meaning they're gonna have to cut jobs, meaning people will lose their job. When you lose your job, you don't have enough money anymore to put food on the table. So you don't have purchasing power as much as before. If you don't have purchasing power and you lost your job, which means there's not money circulating, then this is something called recession. A recession might happen in Canada. And if a recession happens in Canada, automatically, or the automatic reflex of the Canadian bank, which Tiff McCullen said in his conference, I'm going to put a link for the conference or for when he spoke about it, the automatic response would be that we're going to cut rates. So we make it easier and cheaper for Canadians to borrow money so they can live. What he said that this will impact the Canadian economy. What the Bank of Canada could do is just to make it a little bit easier on the consumers or on Canadian citizens. He said we cannot fix it. It's not something the Canadian bank could just pump a lot of money in the economy and just pray that everything goes back to normal. He said it's going to be very painful, but we're going to try to make it as easy as possible, which means we're going to cut rates and make it easier for Canadian citizens to borrow money. So that would be one scenario. The other scenario could also be is that we have an inflation. Meaning, if that company in Canada that's not selling timber or lumber to United States anymore, they're going to have to start selling locally. And if they're going to have to start selling locally after cutting all the jobs and they want to sustain their business, they're going to have to increase the prices. And not just that, Canada is a very, very cold country. Canada imports a lot of fruits and vegetables from the United States, which means fruits and vegetables and consumables that, let's say, a whiskey bourbon, it's going to be more expensive. And Justin Trudeau said it in his conference. He said Canadians going to have to start choose Canadian dry whiskey, rather than bourbon whiskey. So American products will be more expensive here, which means Canadian products will be more expensive too. So what will happen if all the prices are higher? That's an inflation. And if an inflation happens, then the automatic reaction from the Canadian bank is to increase the interest rate to make sure that the prices don't go crazy and don't hit a new ceiling. So this is not just me talking out of my ass. This is me listening to all the analysts from BMO, RBC, Concordia, McGill, CBC News. All of them are saying that it is bad for the Canadian economy. Now, what's going to happen to the American economy? Well, look, the biggest import product from Canada to United States, so United States imports oil. This is the most imported product from Canada to US. They import oil from Canada a lot. Now, the oil or anything related to energy, it's not going to be 25%. They said it's going to be 10%, I believe. But still, it's more expensive. So, is Donald Trump that stupid to just put a tariff on oil? Or does he have another plan? Do you think that the United States is able to sustain itself without Canada? I don't think so. I really don't think so. But they have enough money to win that trade war. And when they win that trade war, they will come back to an agreement and and we will all live our lives together. It's just a war that will end. I don't think that Canada and Mexico and the United States will not be dealing economically anymore. I'm pretty sure we're gonna come back to normal, but it's just a matter of time. And I think the United States has enough money, has enough power, has enough purchasing power, has enough leaders in this country to win this war. Because also, I'm gonna tell you why Donald Trump will be able to win the war on oil. Because during his campaign, his biggest slogan was what? Drill, baby, drill. He's ready to put money to pull out the oil that he has, that the United States has, because they have a lot of oil that they didn't use. So I'm pretty sure they're ready to pull out all that oil and use it. So we're gonna see how long Canada can sustain this trade war. But what I liked, by the way, about Justin Trudeau is that he tried to unify the country against Donald Trump or against this war. He didn't comply. Honestly, I thought he would, but he didn't. Because I thought he would because he has nothing to lose. He's leaving. He's resigning. So why would he go out to war for that one? But maybe because he has nothing to lose, he went to war on this one. Because before Trudeau saying that we're gonna imply another 25% tariff on U.S. products, the White House contacted Ottawa and told them, if you try to put tariffs on us just to retaliate, we're gonna increase the 25% to 50%, which is crazy if they do it. But hey, we live in crazy moments. So we're gonna see. But wait, yeah, I was saying that Trudeau tried to unify the country. Trudeau tried to unify all the premiers together, or the premier from Quebec, from Alberta, Vancouver, and all these other provinces. And it worked. Well, we saw Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre condemned Donald Trump's policy or Donald Trump's threat. He said we need to put Canada first. If you think about it from a political standpoint, Pierre Poilievre is the opposite leader from Trudeau. What he could do is sit back, say that look what Trudeau got us into, look what Trudeau is doing. It's his government, it's the Liberal Party, they don't know how to deal with the Americans, they are driving our economy to the ground. But instead of just saying, well, he said that, but he didn't just focus on this. He said, but also we condemn what the Americans are doing. We condemn this trade war that Donald Trump is starting, and we need to put Canada first. And if we put Canada first, we're able to work on it all together. I think he has a different plan than Trudeau. Trudeau asked us to start drinking Canadian whiskey rather than American whiskey. So I think they have the same goal, but different idea, different tactics. But which is good. Everybody is saying that Canada is now unified against this war. So look, it's an interesting war, but at the same time it's a very concerning war. I mean, it's always any war, physical or economic war, military war or economic war, is the civilians, is the consumers that bear all the consequences. A lot of people will lose their jobs, and this war will officially start on February 4th on Tuesday. All the tariffs will start on Tuesday. So look, stay tuned. I'm gonna do another episode talking about all the headlines that I spoke about at the beginning of this video. Thank you all for listening, joining, and please, if you feel like you want to help me out, all you have to do is follow, share, like, comment, do whatever you want to do to help me. Stay tuned. Thank you. Bye bye.